and that's the truth, and I mean it. Did you fall asleep during the space thing again, Kara? It's a privilege, really, for me to have to be the one to tell this to you. But the price of scrap steel today hit $100. So it was down to $4 a ton, and it's now back up to $100. So if you have any money left, you can put it back in the stock market. The price yield precipitates market movement. Isn't that kind of neat? Wouldn't it be neat if you think about this, that like the guys at the junkyard were really controlling the global economies? Like these like dirty, filthy guys with like, you know, dial phones were like, yeah, let it go up a little bit, yeah. It was for a short while, about a year ago, scrap was up to $250 a ton before the great collapse. And back in like 2000, 2001, scrap was up around $250 a ton. And it kind of moves around. Then you can look at scrap steel, you look at gold, you see the trends, put your money in, you know, for breakfast, take it out by, you know, dinner time. You guys are actually listening to stock analyst advice from me right now.
Who's ever listening?
Day trading. It is my pleasure and privilege to present to you the sage of the ODM bar, Dr. Hal.
Avoiding all definite form, the abstract horror roofed stony hard, and the first age passed over, and the state of dismal woe. Down sunk in fright a red round globe, hot, burning, deep, deep down into the abyss, and a second age passed over, and the state of dismal woe. Rolled round in two little orbs, and enclosed in two little caves, the eyes beheld the abyss, lest bones of sunness freeze over all, and a third age passed over, and a state of dismal woe. From beneath his orbs of vision, two ears shot spiring out into the deep darkness, and petrified as they grew, and a fourth age passed over, and a state of dismal woe. Hanging upon the wind, two nostrils bent down into the deep, and a fifth age passed over, and a state of dismal woe. In ghastly torment, sick, a tongue of hunger and thirst flamed out, and a sixth age passed over, and a state of dismal woe. Enraged and stifled, without and within, in terror and woe, he threw his right arm to the north, his left arm to the south, and his feet stamped the nether abyss in trembling and howling in dismay, and the seventh age passed over, and a state of dismal woe. The long years of generation of the Ask Dr. Hal show, so long, so much water under the bridge, so much ichor in the arteries and veins of the gods, and who's to say what lies behind the murky curtain of the future? Not me, unless, of course, you wish to make that part of your inquiry, and then it will be my pleasure to give such an answer. And, of course, I'm ably supported by David Capurro, who body surfs the internet, as Chickens told you, and the great K-Rob, without whom this show would be as worms in the dirt. Of course, Pete Goldie keeps us connected to the rational world of science, but as soon as he's driven off stage by Chicken's abuse, we get into the twilight world of shadows, uncertainty, prophecy, and discredited magic and philosophical belief, and is folded into the eternal records and then appears on YouTube, courtesy of Puzzling Evidence. Otherwise, you just have this icky bluff.
What is the furthest thing from your mind right now?
But I suppose a pair of argyle socks drying on a clothesline. But now, of course, I thought
That's where you
and
got
they
it.
loom hugely in the foreground, as the writer intended. But is that worth $5? There are many remote things. One cannot focus on the entirety of the universe at once. And yet, these concerns are never far. They must lie close to me if I am to reach out, take hold of them, and make use of them. And not just me, but Chicken John also has a considerable battery or arsenal in readiness. Everything else, everything in between, is a matter of degree.
Well, what does a rainbow...
I believe
we have to...
Mr. Frank Chu is now here. Ladies and gentlemen.
Is he here?
Privilege
Isn't it?
to be here for Frank Chu, and here he is.
Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Frank Chu.
Well, we're going to have a chance to meet Senator Feinstein's Nancy Pelosi and John Kerry. Also filmed by CBS, ABC World News, and it was about those populations in outer space and other galaxies and other planets. About Bill Clinton involved in those 12 galaxies of populations that were guilty, involved with war crimes, and not paying myself as a movie star and a TV star. So I'm trying to get that impeachment, probably 2010 or 2012 in Washington, D.C., and try to get it all proven too. Thank you.
Frank Chu, ladies and gentlemen. I don't know how many of you read my continuing serial, The Frank Chu Story. The Frank Chu Story Part 2 now appears in the appropriate section of the Ask Dr. Hal report. If you are interested in going further into Mr. Chu's unusual Weltanschauung and his theory of Zechnotronics. Now,
Dr. Hal.
yeah.
Why does the sun and moon often appear to be the same size in the sky? They are the same size, aren't they?
They are the same size. They are exactly the same size.
Yeah, I told you.
Now, you might not believe that I hold with any superstition or malarkey or claptrap. I'm not a believer in intelligent design. I know that evolution is the motivating force in the development of biological life. I'm an ignoramus, but I know a little bit about the formation of the solar system and how the larger planets just happen to draw all the space debris away, which would otherwise be pelting us and ending our life. And our huge moon is ideally situated to draw the tides and settle them so that ocean lives and breathes and can be the cradle of life. These things may not be the necessary precursors for life, but although I don't say that it's unlikely for the human eye to develop as if a 747 was assembled by a windstorm blowing through a junkyard or an aircraft parts factory. In fact, that's what the anti-evolution side believes. They believe a divine wind assembled the aircraft in question. But I'm going to tell you, it's damned peculiar that the moon and the sun are the same size, and if there were any belief on my part that there was a God or some large force or authority tinkering with us to give us something which is absolutely unparalleled anywhere else in our solar system, or as far as we can tell, any other star system that we know of, that would be it. So thanks for bringing that to all our attention.
Uncanny.
Why should it be the same size? So exactly the same size that a full eclipse of the sun can be produced, and yet we manage to see the photosphere, the solar corona, the gigantic eruptions on the surface of huge solar flares beaming radiant energy into space. But I'm
Turn me on, man. Stupid question, like. This is a stupid question right here. Can I write off time travel expenses for my tax return?
If you really have a time machine, there's no reason that paying taxes should be a problem for you.
How about half a shot of Fernet for that?
You want to follow up? We should have shot a Fernet and
Come on, I'll do the gavel thing. Come on, that's for you.
Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, Don Paul Swain, master builder, baiter, whatever. I am curious How did you and Chicken first meet? How did we first meet, Hal?
You can't remember?
It was right here at this show. It was a weekly show that I was doing here in San Francisco. It was 1995. And our mutual friend John Law, I was like out of other people to come perform for free with me. So John Law said, oh yeah, Hal, come and perform with you. And Hal came and performed one night, and then we've been performing together at the show ever since.
And the show itself has traveled into other precincts than these.
Sure, yeah.
So we collided on
14 fucking years ago.
Got chocolate and peanut butter mixed.
Look, when we were young, Hal, young
and full of sap and vigor.